Hello survivors and welcome to another video. In this video we're going to be looking at the season store for season 2, basically for leaks. We're not going to be looking at the league store because the league store is identical to the last season. I will link the video that I made last season. None of the prices have changed by what I can see. We are probably going to get a little bit more in the way of league tokens this season just because they seem to be being put into, for instance, the current level up that's going on right now. As you can see, it does look like they're going to be in Milestone rewards now, so that's pretty decent, and you can basically buy whatever piece of gear you want with this. The gear is still really expensive, but I don't know, that's just my opinion. I would prefer there to be the museum events every now and again at least. So again, like I said, we're going to look at the league store, and as you can see, there's 3 ascendable characters like last season. There are 3 5-stars. However, as obviously you can see, there are no weapons, and some people obviously want there to be weapons. I didn't think the weapons last season were too spectacular, mainly just because I thought they were so expensive. They didn't have any super tier 3s on them, but it was just nice to have weapons in there. But I think it would have been better off if people saved their stuff, you know, their tokens for obviously this season's characters. We're going to look at the 5-stars first. We're going to mainly skim through these guys. Heath was an amazing character in the 5-star world. He was obviously a command. I did pull this guy pretty much 2 years ago now in the Gateway event, and he has a really nice buff, 85% attack and defense. If he became a 6-star, I think he'd be a really nice 6-star because obviously he'd be a buffing character and he'd have a really like premium specialist skill in command. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon because there are so many strong commands already. There's Connie, there's Glenn, there's Kelly. There's basically no other commands except them 3 and Sadiq from what I can remember. Now we look at Dwayne. He was the initial character that was released as part of the Hold the Line event. He was the first specialist skill Hold the Line character. I think there might have been a promo character at the same time. I can't really remember who it was, but he was, like I say, the first one on the Hold the Line wheel. It was kind of dangerous if, you know, he got his Hold the Line buff, obviously 25% defense and attack every time, you know, someone in his team is dead. So if all 4 of his teammates are dead, he gets 100% buff. It all stacks together. And then if he rushes, you know, it would just be he'd just start doing insane amounts of damage, and it would be like I say, a bit of a surprise. He did have a Glock that came with him in that event, but it isn't attached to him, so you can put whatever weapon you'd want on him. But like I say, if he became a 6-star, he'd probably be a bit of an annoying tank, but kind of like Ares, kind of like Wyatt. I don't know. Maybe Red might be a bit better because having massive tanky stats against some of these massive damage dealing toughs might actually work, and obviously he could have stun on defense. Lastly, we have Sawyer as the last 5-star in this, and he was probably one of the best attack team characters in terms of the 5-star world. He had a decapitate. He could decapitate 3 people because his rush attacked 3 people. It was reasonable percentage damage and 375% defense. 375% attack. But what made him really good was obviously he was a fast character, and something that fast characters do not have is on attack specials, and he had a premium on attack back in the day. There was no resist, so stun was just so good, and on a fast character even better because a lot of the defense teams that run were basically Android defense teams. So you could command this guy turn 2 and he would just rip that team apart basically, and if they had revive Jesus, it didn't matter because he had decapitate. I mean, if he became ascendable, he'd be, I'd hope, really good. Obviously he's got decapitate. You'd hope he'd keep that. But as 5-stars, all these 3 characters should probably be left till the last 48 hours of the event, unless you were like such a mega fan of one of these characters. I just leave it to the end to see if you had enough tokens, see if you couldn't afford one of the ascendable characters, which we're going to show, and just basically just hold on till the last moments and then decide, because they're not going to be roster changing unless you're brand new to the game. And even if you're brand new, I'd still say go for an ascendable just because the potential of them is much higher. Now there are 3 ascendables, as you can see. We have got Firestarter Naya, who's taken the slot of Kelly from last season, who was like a previously released ascendable, and then we have the 2 unique characters in Sandy and Tara. I have gone over Sandy and Tara in depth in my video previously, which I'll link in the description. However, we'll look at Naya. I have done a video on her before, but I have seen a lot of people asking if she's worth it. So we'll first go over her stats. She's got very high damage, one of the highest damage dealing stats in the game. Fairly low defense, but actually not too low. Like considering she is a damage dealer. 1500 HP is kind of just a little bonus. Now she deals 2 attacks of 300% damage, 600% total to one enemy, and this works like most double attack rushes or triple attack rushes in that she can get stunned, you know, that sort of thing. On defense specials can actually work. It won't break her rush unless she gets stunned, like Impair doesn't stop her rush halfway through. The second part is deal 600 burn damage and 50% heal reduction for 2 turns to up to 2 enemies. Active skill is burn, so 500 burn for 2 turns to 1 enemy is kind of nice, but it's mainly the specialist skill which I think most people are going to look at. Whenever this character attacks a character suffering from burning, an adjacent character will be affected with a copy of that burning effect. I think Naya works quite well if you've got someone else on an attack team who has a burn mod. Now, I have got 2 Nayas on my beta region, and they're pretty fun to just use, just spreading fire everywhere, mainly because I haven't leveled them up, and burn damage is 100% like guaranteed. It doesn't scale off of your damage or anything like that, so that's kind of cool. And she does have on effect attack weapon, which is again rare for fast characters. It is 400 burn damage for 2 turns to 1 enemy. She has already got base attack on here. I think she's more of an attacking character. You'd have to gear her specifically for defense, just massively stack defense and HP, but I think she's a pretty nice character. And like I said, if you don't have a decapitate, she could be worth going for you. Now, the next 2 characters, like I said, I did break these characters down to a heavy extent in the previous video, so I'm only going to look over these characters a little bit. Something I did learn about Tara since that video is that she will not be able to use her rush a second time with focus. Initially, I thought that the 2 turns meant the 2 turns after she rushed, but it actually includes the same turn she rushes as one of those 2 turns. So it'll be attack, attack, rush on her 3rd turn. That will be the 1st turn of her focus buff, and then the next turn will be the 2nd turn of her focus buff. Obviously, she can't rush at that point unless you have someone in your team that actually gives AP up. Like maybe you have a Sadiq, but then you're going to obviously have to command her on that turn as well to rush, and yeah, that's obviously the massive downside. I think she's still a heavy damage dealing tough character, so if you do lack damage, she isn't as good as Tyrese, just mainly because the specialist skill is not as strong. You're not going to want raids to last 6 turns for it to get that strong. The first time she rushes, she'll have a 40% bonus on her attack. The second time she rushes, she'll have 100% bonus on her attack. So she will obviously get a lot of extra attack on those first 2 rushes. She'll be great fun in Faction Assault, I think, and other parts of the game, but mainly Faction Assault, which lasts lots and lots of turns. The defense up is kind of interesting. I'm not really sure how you'd utilize it, whether you just do it straight away, which you could. Probably depends on what teams you're coming up against, I guess. The Sandy, I might have read her rush in my last video. I think I might have thought it was 2 turns on the taunt, but it's actually only 1, because I did compare it to Cal's rush, who is a 2-turn taunt. She hasn't got that great a rush. It isn't that great. 300% damage is okay, just a little bit of damage. She has okay base damage considering. The 2-turn, sorry, see, I nearly did it again. The 2 enemy 1-turn rush is like okay for a taunt. It's just like a little bit of crowd control, nothing spectacular. The bonus HP is like, again, it's just a little bit of a bonus. Mainly, most people, when they look at this character, will look at her active skill. Now, the downside of her active skill is you could potentially use the taunt side of the active skill and not revive somebody, because it's got a double barrel in the active skill. If there's no one who's available to be revived, she will just use her active skill, if it's up, just to taunt people, which kind of sucks in my opinion. It's a shame that part of the unlocks was not actually the taunt itself, and that way you could just keep it as a revive if you so wished. So that's the massive downside on her active. Leader skill, all teammates get 30% HP and a very large bonus to AP when taking damage. I've kind of warmed to this a little bit since reading it, because it is a rainbow leader. It's going to be useful if you're newer to the game and you don't have like a decent leader. If you didn't get Zeke from last season, what were you playing at basically? Because obviously he's a really good character, but he's a better rainbow lead than this character is. So those are the characters. I think I'm going to pick up Naya on both my regions, just because I think she's going to be a lot of fun. In terms of the other characters, it really depends on what you lack. If you lack damage on attack, Tara might be the one to go for. She obviously is going to be a massive damage dealing character. Sandy is more of a defense team character, so if you lack, you know, something on your defense team, if you need a rainbow lead, she could be useful for you. I'm probably going to aim for Sandy on both my regions, and Tara and Naya on both my regions. And if I can, I'll get Tara, because I think she's going to be really, really fun on Faction Assault. I'm probably not going to get any of the 5 stars, but if I was, I'd maybe get Dwayne on one of my regions. Now, the biggest problem is some people are going to not have enough season tokens, and the way you can get season tokens, obviously, is by positioning well in your faction league. So make sure, obviously, you're in a strong faction and your faction are performing, and that way you can get season tokens. On a solo level, there are 2 ways you can get solo season tokens, and one of them is within milestones. As we can see, as long as you pick up milestones, you're going to be fine. Now, do realize that like right now it says you need 9,832 solo trophies to get to the next milestone. I've actually already passed that. This is a visual error at the moment on this screen. To check out your own milestones, you have to go to your character screen. So here I am on my character screen, and as you can see, the season trophies I have is 66,000, whereas on that page I think it had it listed as like, I don't know, 35 or something like that. I'm not sure why that happens. I have already got the rewards for the next unlock, so I'm not really sure why that happens. Now, the other way we're going to get the season tokens is from missions. Now, I'm not sure when these are going to unlock. I have seen screenshots of Jay being quoted as saying next season, but that could have been a screenshot from earlier in the week. So effectively, he could be talking about this next season, as in season 2. But basically, you'll get these based on your division, and it looks like they're going to scale pretty well. I think they go up to like quite a few thousand. So that could be another way to get these season tokens. They might add ways to get season tokens in faction events as well, like they have in this level up added solo league tokens. They might add something in faction events where your faction placing will give you season tokens, maybe like 1,000 or 2,000 here and there. So that could be, again, like another way of getting it. Time will tell. I would just basically try and make yourself being a higher league faction as possible, and get your faction just, you know, working as hard as possible, basically, to stay in or to be in like a higher division if you can. If you make a new faction now, you're going to really struggle to get these season tokens. One of my factions is in gold because we started over basically, and it's taken a long time to get up to this point. And so if you transfer regions and stuff, it's going to be a real struggle. Do tell me what you think about these characters. Which ones are you going to go for? Are you going to go for any of the 5 stars? Are you going to go for them as a priority? I would still say probably leave these till last, just and see if you can get these characters first. I think, like I said, the synergy between Tara and Naya is quite cool. Sandy, more of a defensive character. But which one of these 3 ascendables do you like the look of? But that's in this video, like I said. And as always, guys, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.